What if a Hollywood icon walked into a late-night interview expecting promo and instead got provoked into a moment that changed media forever? This is the explosive showdown between Will Smith and Stephen Colbert you have to see to believe. Get ready, because what starts as a polished conversation ends in chaos. Nobody in the audience that night expected fireworks. Will Smith, fresh off the press circuit for his newest film, was scheduled to appear on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. It was billed as a standard late-night interview. A few laughs, some promotional chatter, and maybe a heartwarming moment or two. But what unfolded instead became one of the most talked about confrontations in television history. As the crowd filtered into the iconic Ed Sullivan Theater, the atmosphere crackled with excitement. Will Smith is, after all, Hollywood royalty, and Colbert, known for his biting wit and intellectual jabs, was expected to make it a fun evening. But something felt different. Production assistants whispered backstage. Colbert's monologue hinted at tension, dropping oddly sharp jokes about Hollywood comebacks and people who slap but can't take a joke. When Will Smith finally went on stage, he radiated his usual charm. Broad smile, firm handshake, and a sharp navy blue suit that sparkled subtly under the lights. The audience roared their approval. But Colbert's handshake was brief, his smile tight. "Will Smith, ladies and gentlemen," Colbert said, barely making eye contact. Actor, producer, and the only man who slapped his way into Oscar history. A few awkward chuckles escaped from the crowd, but Will didn't flinch. "It's good to be here, Stephen," he replied smoothly, "though I wasn't expecting to start with boxing metaphors." Colbert chuckled, tapping his cue cards. "I just call it how America sees it." Will tilted his head. "Funny, I thought America was about second chances." That remark shifted the audience slightly. Some clapped, others remained silent. The tension was subtle at first, but as the conversation moved on, it became clear this wasn't going to be a friendly exchange. Colbert wasn't interested in the movie. He was interested in drawing blood. Colbert continued. "So tell me, Will, do you think the public has forgiven you? Or are you still trying to convince them you're not the guy who loses his cool over a joke?" Smith held his smile, but it tightened around the edges. "I think the public has seen me at my best and at my worst. And like most people, they know that growth isn't a straight line." "Growth," Colbert repeated with an arched eyebrow. "That's a nice word. Is that what your team advised you to focus on?" Will leaned in slightly. "No team told me to say that. Life did. The kind of lessons that come when millions of people are watching you fall and get back up." The audience responded with a few affirming claps, but Colbert wasn't done. "So this film, is it art or image rehab?" Smith let the silence stretch. "You know what's wild, Stephen? You invite me here to talk about a project I care deeply about, but you've made it clear you're not really interested in hearing what I have to say. You're performing a takedown. That's fine, but let's at least be honest about it." The crowd stirred. Colbert smiled, but this time it didn't reach his eyes. As the audience settled into their seats after the opening exchange, the air felt noticeably heavier. What began as subtle tension now simmered with every word. Will tried to pivot the conversation toward the film's message, a heartfelt story about redemption, family, and personal accountability. But Colbert was not playing along. "Let's get real, Will," Colbert began, his tone sharper. "Isn't this all just damage control? Polishing the brand? Making people forget that moment?" The crowd murmured. A few gasps. Will kept his gaze steady. "You're right that I've made mistakes, and I own them, but this isn't about erasing the past. It's about moving forward. That's what this film represents." Colbert leaned forward. "Sure, but some say you're leveraging vulnerability for sympathy. There's a difference between healing and marketing it." Will's smile faded just a bit. "And there's a difference between honest questions and trying to corner someone on live TV. I came here in good faith, Stephen." Unfazed, Colbert pressed on. "Let's talk about your so-called healing process. A spiritual retreat, an apology tour, some social media quotes about self-love. Sounds curated, doesn't it?" Smith straightened in his chair, measured and controlled. If you think healing is glamorous, you've never tried it. It's messy, private, but since I live publicly, I share it when I can. That doesn't make it any less real. The audience applauded. Colbert shifted uncomfortably, but doubled down. So the therapy, the videos, the journaling, do you actually do that or is it just content? This time Will laughed. Not out of amusement, but disbelief. Is this an interview or an interrogation? A long silence followed. The interview was now teetering on collapse. Colbert rifled through his notes as if searching for one last dagger. Let's not forget, Will, there was a time when you were the most bankable star in the world. Do you ever wonder if you're chasing a spotlight that's moved on? Will blinked. The jab hit harder than the rest, but he didn't waver. I don't chase spotlights, Stephen. I follow stories. And sometimes the story is about falling. Other times it's about rising. The truth is, I'm not here to be anyone's hero. I'm here to be honest. The audience erupted in applause. Even Colbert's band leader nodded subtly. Colbert gave a tight-lipped smile, but he was visibly rattled. Honesty, that's a good word, especially from someone who once called himself Mr. Nice Guy before the cameras caught something different. Will's composure thinned. We're all different when we're broken. The point is not to stay that way. Colbert leaned in, voice low but forceful. Do you really think the public trusts you now? Will didn't hesitate. I think trust is earned, and it takes time, but respect. That starts with how we treat each other, even when we disagree. And with that, the interview reached its critical mass. The final commercial break came and went. When cameras rolled again, something in Will had changed. He sat upright, still polite, but something fierce now glinted behind his eyes. Colbert tried to reset. We're back, and I must say, things have gotten spirited. Will didn't laugh. I think the word you're looking for is disrespectful. The audience froze. Colbert forced a grin. Come on, Will, it's all in good fun. No, Stephen, Will said firmly. You've turned this interview into a public shaming. Not one real question about the art, about the process. You didn't invite me to talk. You brought me here to be cornered. Colbert's smirk vanished. I've sat in this chair for over a decade, he said coldly. Guests know what to expect. Well, maybe, Will replied. It's time they stop expecting to be ambushed. The crowd cheered. Then came the moment that stunned everyone. Will stood up. You want a viral moment, Stephen? Here it is. He removed his mic, set it on the chair, and walked toward the wings. Just before disappearing backstage, he turned to the host. Dignity can't be scripted, and you just lost yours. The audience exploded. Some clapped, others stared in stunned silence. Colbert sat frozen, jaw tight, no words ready. Backstage, the fallout was immediate. Producers scrambled. Publicists shouted. Social media, fed by a dozen clips filmed from the audience, began to detonate. Respect will begin trending within 15 minutes. Clips of Colbert's barbs contrasted with Smith's poise spread like wildfire. Comments flooded in. He kept his cool. That was uncomfortable to watch. This isn't journalism, it's ambush. Even rival hosts weighed in. One late-night peer tweeted, there's a line between humor and humiliation. Tonight it got crossed. Meanwhile, Colbert attempted damage control. Things got intense, he said later on air, but that's live TV for you. But the audience wasn't buying it. Applause was sparse. That week's ratings dipped. And the next night, Colbert issued a rare semi-apology. As a host, my job is to ask questions, but I must also listen. I fell short last night. Will, for his part, said nothing for 48 hours. Then a post. Always choose grace over ego, even when the stage isn't yours. The post reached 3 million likes within a day. News outlets ran segments. Think pieces were published. A public narrative emerged. Colbert had gone too far. Smith had shown restraint, dignity, and authenticity. The incident reignited debates around media responsibility, performative journalism, and how we treat celebrities navigating redemption. And above all, it reminded the world that no matter how late the hour or how bright the spotlight, integrity still speaks the loudest. What did you think of Will Smith's response? Was Colbert out of line? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every one. And if you want more inside stories like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and join our growing community of truth seekers. Because sometimes the real story is what happens when the cameras are still rolling and someone finally says, enough.